What if the ancient civilizations of our world left behind secret messages hidden in plain sight, just waiting for us to decode them? Scattered across forgotten temples, buried beneath layers of dust and time, lie mysterious animal symbols carved into stone, painted on walls, and etched into artifacts. From the towering pyramids of Egypt to the lost cities of Mesopotamia and the dense jungles of Mesoamerica, these enigmatic images have whispered to us for centuries. But what do they really mean? Were they mere decorations, sacred totems, or something far more extraordinary? Archaeologists have spent decades staring at these symbols, tracing their curves and lines, trying to unravel their secrets. And yet, even now, 30 of these animal depictions remain utterly unexplained. Some seem to defy logic, creatures that don't match any known species, designs that twist reality into impossible shapes. Could they represent beasts long lost to extinction, their forms preserved only in stone, or might they hint at encounters with something beyond our world? The deeper you look, the more unsettling the questions become. Why did cultures separated by oceans and millennia carve such eerily similar creatures? What were they trying to tell us or warn us about? This isn't just a journey into the past, it's a detective story, a puzzle where every clue leads to another mystery. Each of these 30 symbols holds a piece of the truth, a fragment of a story we're only beginning to understand. So let's step into the shadows of history, where the lines between myth and reality blur. Together, we'll examine these cryptic animal figures, piece together their hidden meanings, and ask the most thrilling question of all: what if we're finally close to uncovering the message they've been guarding for thousands of years? High atop a plateau in southern Ohio, a colossal snake slithers silently across the earth, not in flesh but in soil. The Great Serpent Mound stretches over 1,300 feet, its undulating coils and gaping jaws frozen in time for at least 1,000 years. Built by the ancient culture, this massive effigy mound follows the natural curves of the land with eerie precision, as if the earth itself awoke to form a serpent. But what's truly astonishing is how it aligns with celestial events. During the summer solstice, the sun sets directly behind the serpent's head, while the coils mirror the phases of the moon. Some researchers believe it served as a giant astronomical calendar, tracking seasons for agricultural rituals. Others go further, suggesting it might have been a warning carved into the land. In the late 19th century, a startling theory emerged that the serpent's curved tail mirrors the path of Halley's comet as it streaked across the sky in 1066. Could the mound be a record of that celestial event, or even a harbinger of disaster? Indigenous oral traditions speak of sky serpents bringing both creation and destruction, blurring the line between myth and memory. But here's the mystery: no artifacts or burials have been found within the mound, ruling out a funerary purpose. So why would ancient builders invest such effort into shaping the land itself? Modern drone footage reveals just how meticulously the serpent's body follows the land's contours, suggesting its creators didn't just impose their vision, they listened to the earth. Some scholars argue it marked a sacred boundary between worlds, while fringe theories propose connections to lost serpent-worshipping cults. Whatever the truth, the Great Serpent Mound remains an open question, coiled in the landscape, watching the skies as it has for centuries. Its silent message endures, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. Moving from the ancient earthworks of Ohio to the sun-baked bricks of Mesopotamia, we encounter another creature that seems to defy nature, the Mushussu dragon. This dazzling hybrid beast, with the body of a serpent, the forelegs of a lion, and the hind legs of an eagle, once adorned the vibrant blue tiles of Babylon's Ishtar Gate. More than just a mythological figure, the Mushussu was a sacred guardian, intimately tied to the supreme god Marduk. Imagine walking through that gate thousands of years ago, the dragon's gleaming scales catching the sunlight, its unblinking eyes warning all who passed beneath it. But why this particular combination of animals? The lion symbolized raw power, the eagle divine authority, and the serpent ancient wisdom. Blending them into a single creature created the ultimate protector. Archaeologists believe the Mushussu wasn't merely decorative. It served as a spiritual sentinel, warding off chaos and evil. In Babylonian texts, Marduk is often depicted standing atop the Mushussu, reinforcing its role as both his steed and enforcer of divine order. Some inscriptions even suggest the dragon acted as a judge, destroying those who offended the gods. Digital reconstructions reveal how stunning the original gate must have been: lapis lazuli blues, fiery reds, and gold leaf accents bringing the creature to life. Yet the mystery deepens when we realize similar hybrid creatures appear in distant cultures, from the Egyptian Sphinx to Hindu Nagas. Was the Mushussu purely a product of imagination, or could it have been inspired by something glimpsed in the shadows of antiquity? Modern excavations continue to uncover fragments of these glazed bricks, each one a whisper from a civilization that revered this creature not as fiction, but as a very real force between the earthly and the divine. What's most fascinating is how the Mushussu's image evolved over time, appearing on seals, steels, and even royal insignia. Some scholars argue it represented Babylon's dominance, a symbol of the empire's unshakable might. Others see it as a cosmic metaphor, the serpentine body winding through the heavens, connecting the underworld, earth, and sky. Unlike the great serpent mound, which seems rooted in celestial observation, the Mushussu feels deliberately constructed, a theological puzzle pieced together from the animal kingdom's most potent symbols. So was it a warning, a blessing, or something else entirely? The answer might lie in the way its image was reserved for the most sacred spaces, never appearing on common artifacts. This dragon wasn't just art, it was a message carved in clay and color, declaring that some boundaries were never meant to be crossed. Deep in the sands of Egypt, hidden among hieroglyphs and temple carvings, lurks a creature unlike any other, the mysterious Set animal. With its long, curved snout, squared-off ears, and slender canine-like body, this enigmatic figure has puzzled Egyptologists for centuries. Often associated with Set, the god of chaos and storms, the animal defies simple classification. Is it a forgotten species now lost to time, or something far stranger, a mythological construct pieced together from the imaginations of ancient priests? When you place images of the Set animal beside real creatures, the puzzle only deepens. Some argue it resembles an aardvark with its elongated snout and heavy tail. Others see traces of the jackal, particularly in its sleek body and pointed ears, yet neither comparison fits perfectly. The squared ears alone are unlike any living mammal, giving the creature an almost unnatural appearance. Fossil records offer no clear answers either, leaving us to wonder, did the Egyptians exaggerate features of a known animal, or were they depicting something that simply no longer exists? Theories about the Set animal's origins span from the plausible to the extraordinary. Some scholars suggest it could be a stylized representation of the African wild dog, an animal known for its unpredictable nature, fitting for a god of disorder. But others propose it might depict a now extinct species, perhaps a prehistoric relative of canids, or even a unique desert-dwelling mammal that vanished without a trace. Then there's the more radical idea that the Set animal was never meant to be real at all. Could it be a symbolic amalgamation, blending traits from multiple creatures to embody chaos itself? The debate intensifies when we examine how the symbol evolved over time. Early dynastic carvings show a more naturalistic creature, while later depictions become increasingly abstract, almost otherworldly. This shift raises another compelling question. Was the Set animal's design intentionally distorted to separate it further from the natural world, reinforcing Set's role as a disruptor of order? The answer might lie in the way it was portrayed in conflict with Horus, the falcon-headed god of kingship. Their battles weren't just myths, they were cosmic struggles between stability and upheaval, with the set animal as the living emblem of turmoil. What makes this symbol truly fascinating is its duality. In some contexts, Set, and by extension his beast, was reviled, a force of destruction. Yet in others, he was a necessary protector, guarding Ra's solar bark against the Serpent Apophis during its nightly journey through the underworld. The Set animal, then, becomes more than just a mysterious creature. It's a paradox, a reminder that chaos and order are two sides of the same coin. So was it real, imagined, or something in between? Perhaps the truth isn't in finding a perfect match, but in understanding why the ancients needed such a creature in the first place. The Set animal wasn't just art, it was a lesson carved in stone, a warning that even the most unsettling forces have their place in the balance of the world. Etched into the sun-scorched desert plains of southern Peru, the Nazca monkey stares up at the sky, a colossal geoglyph so massive it can only be truly appreciated from the air. Stretching nearly 300 feet across, this ancient figure sprawls across the landscape with one baffling feature that sets it apart from the other Nazca lines, its spiraled tail coiled like a cosmic spring. And then there are the hands, disproportionately large, with fingers splayed as if reaching for something just out of grasp. But here's the real mystery. The creature is unmistakably a spider monkey, a species never found in this arid region. So why would the Nazca people, over 2,000 years ago, painstakingly carve an animal they likely never saw into the earth itself? Aerial footage reveals the staggering precision of these lines, shallow grooves scraped through the dark surface pebbles to expose the lighter soil beneath, creating a design that's endured for millennia. The monkey's tail isn't just a casual flourish. Its spiral mirrors the intricate patterns found in Nazca textiles and pottery, suggesting a deeper symbolic meaning. Some researchers believe it represents the constellation Ursa Major, linking the figure to celestial navigation or seasonal cycles. Others argue the spiral could symbolize water, a precious resource in this desert environment, making the monkey a guardian of life in an unforgiving landscape. But the question lingers, how did the Nazca know about spider monkeys? These primates thrive in the Amazon rainforest, hundreds of miles away. Trade routes might explain it. Evidence shows the Nazca exchanged goods with distant cultures, possibly bringing back stories or even live animals. Yet there's another, more tantalizing theory. Among local myths, the spider monkey appears as a trickster figure, a bridge between worlds. Could this geoglyph be a nod to that mythology, a way to honor a creature seen as both playful and sacred? The hands, oversized and meticulously rendered, add another layer of intrigue. In many Andean cultures, hands symbolize communication with the divine. Perhaps the monkey isn't just an animal but a messenger. Modern scans even suggest the figure aligns with underground water channels, hinting at a practical purpose alongside its spiritual role. Standing on the ground, you'd never grasp the scale or the artistry of this design. It's only from above that the monkey's form emerges, a hidden message to the heavens. Whether it's a celestial map, a plea for water, or a tribute to a far-off creature, one thing is clear. The Nazca didn't create this geoglyph for human eyes alone. They were speaking to something or someone beyond our understanding, and that spiral tail, it might just be the key to deciphering their untold story. Leaping through time to the vibrant halls of ancient Crete, we encounter one of the most electrifying enigmas of Minoan art, the bull leaping fresco from the palace of Knossos. Frozen in motion for over 3,000 years, this vivid scene captures three figures mid-dance with a massive bull, one gripping its horns, another arched over its back, and a third poised to catch the leaper. But this isn't just a snapshot of ancient athletics. The bull itself is unlike any ordinary creature. Its horns curve with impossible elegance, its flanks adorned with cryptic spirals and geometric patterns. What are we really witnessing here? A sacred ritual, a deadly sport, or something even more profound? The fresco's dynamism is undeniable. the bull's powerful muscles ripple beneath its stylized hide, its hooves barely touching the ground as if suspended in mid-charge. Archaeologists have long debated whether this depicts an actual practice or a symbolic act. Some argue it records a brutal rite of passage where young men proved their courage by vaulting over charging bulls, a test of agility with life or death stakes. Broken bones found in Minoan settlements hint at the dangers involved, suggesting these leaps weren't just for spectacle, but others see deeper religious significance. The bull was sacred in Minoan culture, often linked to the earth-shaking god Poseidon. Could this be a form of communion where humans and deity met in a fleeting, physical moment? Then there are the markings. The bull's coat isn't plain. It's decorated with intricate designs from looping spirals to checkerboard patterns. These aren't random. They mirror symbols found on Minoan seals and altars, often associated with divine power or cosmic energy. The exaggerated horns, curling like crescent moons, further blur the line between animal and icon. Modern comparisons to cave paintings of aurochs, the wild ancestors of cattle, reveal just how stylized the Knossos bull truly is. It's as if the artists weren't depicting a beast of flesh and blood, but a living symbol, a bridge between worlds. The fresco's placement adds another layer of mystery. It wasn't hidden away in a temple but displayed prominently in the palace, a space buzzing with political and spiritual life. This wasn't just art, it was a statement. Perhaps it celebrated the king's connection to the divine, or maybe it warned visitors of the civilization's prowess, both physical and supernatural. What's most striking is how the scene echoes across cultures. Similar bull-leaping imagery appears in Anatolia and the Near East, suggesting shared rituals or traded legends. Yet the Minoan version feels uniquely alive, pulsing with movement and meaning. Were they honoring the bull's strength, mastering it, or becoming something more in that fleeting mid-air moment? The answer might lie in the way the human figures are painted, not as victims or conquerors, but as participants in a dance older than memory. So was it sport, ceremony, or both? The fresco refuses to give a simple answer. Instead, it invites us to consider a world where the boundaries between ritual and reality, human and divine, were as fluid as the leaper's arc over those golden horns. And that's what makes it timeless, not just a relic of the past, but a mirror held up to our own restless search for meaning in the face of the untamed. In the dimly lit tombs of China's Shang dynasty, a creature of gleaming bronze stands guard, part owl, part tiger, and utterly mesmerizing. This ceremonial wine vessel, crafted over 3,000 years ago, isn't just a container, it's a masterpiece of symbolism and metallurgy. With the round, piercing eyes of an owl and the powerful limbs of a tiger, the hybrid creature seems to defy the boundaries of nature itself. Rotating a three-dimensional scan of the vessel reveals astonishing details, feathers etched with geometric precision, a mouth slightly agape as if mid-hiss, and a hollow body designed to hold sacred wine. But why fuse these two animals into a single, haunting form? The owl's presence is no accident. In Shang cosmology, night was a realm of mystery and danger, a time when spirits walked the earth. The owl, with its ability to see through darkness, became a guardian of thresholds, a creature that could navigate the unseen. Burial sites often contained owl-shaped artifacts, suggesting they served as protectors for the dead on their journey to the afterlife. But the tiger's influence complicates the story. Tigers symbolized raw power and authority, frequently associated with kingship and military might. By merging these traits, the Shang craftsman created something far greater than the sum of its parts, a vessel that wasn't just functional but profoundly spiritual. What's most striking is how the design reflects Shang beliefs about duality. The owl's round eyes, often interpreted as lunar symbols, contrast sharply with the tiger's angular solar energy. This wasn't just art, it was a cosmic balancing act, a way to harness opposing forces in a single object. Scholars point to inscriptions found near similar vessels, some mentioning rituals where alcohol was offered to ancestral spirits. The owl-tiger hybrid then might have acted as a mediator, its hollow body a conduit between the living and the dead. Modern metallurgists have marveled at the casting techniques used to create these vessels. Using piece mold methods, Shang artisans poured molten bronze into clay molds, achieving a level of detail that still baffles experts today. The vessel's surface isn't smooth, it's alive with texture, scales, swirls, and patterns that catch the light like living skin. Some theories suggest the tiger's stripes were deliberately exaggerated to represent lightning, linking the creature to storm deities. Others argue the owl's feathers mimic star constellations, turning the vessel into a portable map of the heavens. When you pour wine into this vessel, something extraordinary happens. The liquid would have glimmered through the creature's hollow eyes, as if the owl were weeping or watching. For Shang royalty, this wasn't just a cup, it was an oracle, a way to commune with ancestors during elaborate banquets. Imagine the scene, torchlight flickering against bronze, the owl-tiger's gaze unblinking as nobles drank from its essence. The vessel didn't just hold wine, it transformed it, infusing each sip with the power of the night and the ferocity of the tiger. So was it a warning, a blessing, or both? The answer might lie in where these vessels were found, nestled beside skeletons of high-ranking elites, their jaws parted as if whispering secrets to the bronze guardian at their side. This owl-tiger hybrid wasn't just a symbol of death, it was a promise that even in darkness, strength endured, and the line between predator and protector was always thinner than it seemed. Buried among the ruins of ancient Olmec cities, stone faces peer out at us with an unsettling blend of human and animal traits, infants with snarling jaguar mouths, downturned lips, and cleft heads. These so-called were-jaguar figures have ignited fierce debates among archaeologists for decades. Are they depictions of mythical shapeshifters, divine beings, or something far more tangible? The truth might lie somewhere between the spiritual and the scientific. Take one of the most famous examples, the hollow ceramic baby figure from Los Bocas, its plump infant body cradled in its own arms, its face twisted into a jaguar's snarl. The details are precise flared nostrils, a furrowed brow, and that unmistakable V-shaped cleft running down the forehead. At first glance, it's easy to dismiss this as pure mythology, but when researchers compared these features to congenital conditions like harlequin ichthyosis or encephalocele, the lines blurred. Could the Olmec have been documenting rare genetic mutations, immortalizing them in stone and clay as sacred anomalies? Then there's the shamanic angle. Jaguars held immense power in Olmec cosmology, seen as lords of the underworld and masters of transformation. Shamans reportedly wore jaguar pelts during rituals, believing they could channel the beast's strength and stealth. Some argue these infantile were-jaguars represent spiritual hybrids, children born with the soul of a jaguar, destined to become intermediaries between worlds. The cleft heads might symbolize an open fontanelle, a physical gateway for the divine, but the most striking evidence comes from actual jaguar skulls. When placed side by side with these carvings, the similarities are uncanny. The broad nasal cavity, the pronounced canines, even the way the brow ridge curves. Yet the Olmec didn't merely copy nature, they exaggerated it, fusing human vulnerability with animal ferocity. Modern 3D reconstructions reveal how carefully these artists distorted proportions, making the figures both familiar and alien. What's truly fascinating is how these images evolved. Early depictions show more realistic blends, while later ones become increasingly abstract, almost grotesque. Some scholars suggest this shift reflects changing religious practices, perhaps a move toward more theatrical rituals. Others see it as political propaganda, with rulers claiming descent from these supernatural beings. So were they gods, mutants, or something else entirely? The answer might lie in where these figures were found nestled in elite graves, placed at temple entrances, even clutched in the hands of sacrificial offerings. The Olmec didn't just carve these faces, they worshipped them, feared them, and perhaps even became them. And that's the real mystery, not just what these were-jaguars represent, but why they felt the need to blur the line between human and beast in the first place. From the misty highlands of Scotland to the rolling forests of Gaul, a strange figure slithers through Celtic myth, the horned serpent. Unlike ordinary snakes, this creature coils through legends with antler-like protrusions, its twisted horns giving it an almost regal presence. Artifacts like the Gundestrup cauldron, uncovered in a Danish peat bog, showcase the serpent in stunning detail, scales etched with care, horns curling like branches, eyes gleaming with otherworldly intelligence. But what's truly fascinating is how this symbol didn't stay confined to Europe. Centuries later, across the Atlantic, strikingly similar creatures appear in Native American traditions, whispering of a connection older than history. Take the underwater panther of Algonquian lore, a beast with the body of a big cat and the horns of a serpent, said to lurk in lakes and rivers, controlling storms and currents. The parallels are uncanny. Both creatures embody the untamed power of water, both bear those distinctive twisted horns, and both blur the line between protector and menace. Coincidence? Maybe not. Some scholars point to ancient transatlantic contact, suggesting Celtic traders or lost voyages might have carried fragments of myth to distant shores. Others argue for a deeper, more universal human instinct, the need to explain the unknown depths of water through familiar yet terrifying forms. Examine the artifacts closely, and the details pull you deeper. A bronze pendant from Austria shows the serpent devouring its own tail, an early Ouroboros symbolizing eternity. Meanwhile, Ojibwe medicine bags depict the underwater panther with cobalt blue scales, its horns dripping with rain as if the creature itself summoned storms. The horns are the key, always spiraled, never straight, as if echoing the whirlpools and eddies these beings were said to command. What's striking is how both cultures placed these creatures at sacred thresholds. For the Celts, the horned serpent guarded springs and burial mounds, gateways to the otherworld. For many native tribes, the underwater panther ruled the boundary between water and land, a force to be appeased with offerings. Modern divers have even found horned serpent petroglyphs hidden in underwater caves along the Mississippi, places where the physical and spiritual worlds literally merge. So is this shared symbolism a fragment of lost history or proof of something more profound? Perhaps the answer lies in the way both creatures defy easy categorization, neither fully animal nor deity, but something in between. They remind us that some symbols are too powerful to stay confined by geography or time. Whether carved into a Celtic talk or woven into a Navajo chant, the horned serpent slithers on, its message as fluid as the waters it rules. Among the thousands of inscribed seals unearthed from the Indus Valley, one image stands out: a stout, bovine creature with a single curved horn protruding from its forehead. This so-called Harappan unicorn appears on over half of the seals found at Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, making it the most frequently depicted animal in the entire civilization's artistic record. But here's the twist: unlike the elegant, horse-like unicorns of later Mesopotamian art, this creature looks more like a sturdy bull with an oddly placed horn, its body often adorned with intricate patterns resembling a ceremonial blanket. And then there's the strangest detail of all: a mysterious object resembling a funnel or filter, always positioned in front of the animal. What does it all mean? First, let's tackle the horn itself. Unlike the spiraled, graceful horns of Mesopotamian unicorns, often shown alongside kings in hunting scenes, the Harappan version is thick and crescent-shaped, more like an exaggerated bull's horn than a mythical appendage. Some researchers argue it's simply a stylistic quirk, showing the animal in profile with one horn obscured. Others propose it represents a now extinct species, or even a ritual headpiece fitted to actual bulls during ceremonies. But the sheer repetition of this image suggests it held deep symbolic weight. Zoom in on the seals, and you'll notice the unicorn often stands before what archaeologists call a standard, a tall, T-shaped object that might represent a feeding trough, an altar, or something far more enigmatic. Then there's the filter. This small, vessel-like object appears consistently beneath the unicorn's muzzle, sometimes with lines suggesting pouring liquid. Chemical residue analyses reveal some seals were used to stamp bales of goods, possibly marking commodities like grain or oil. Could the filter hint at a libation ritual where offerings were poured before the sacred animal? Or was it a metaphor for purification, tying the unicorn to themes of fertility and abundance? The contrast with Mesopotamian unicorns is striking. While Akkadian and Babylonian versions symbolized royal power and untamable wilderness, the Harappan unicorn feels grounded, almost bureaucratic. Its seals were likely used in trade, stamped onto clay tags and tokens in bustling marketplaces. Yet the absence of deciphered script leaves us guessing. Was this creature a divine emblem, a clan totem, or a brand logo for ancient merchants? Recent 3D scans reveal something astonishing. The unicorn's blanket isn't random decoration. The geometric patterns match textile fragments found at Harappan sites, suggesting the animal was draped in real fabric during rituals. Even more intriguing, some seals show multiple unicorns facing the standard, as if in procession. This wasn't just art, it was a visual language repeating a scene so familiar to the Harappans that they never bothered to explain it in words. So why the obsession with this hybrid creature? The answer might lie in its duality, strong as a bull yet singular as a myth. Unlike the flamboyant beasts of other cultures, the Harappan unicorn feels practical, woven into daily life. Its horn could symbolize the crescent moon, linking it to lunar deities, or the curve of a plow, tying it to agriculture. As for the filter, perhaps it's the key, a silent clue that this animal wasn't just worshipped, but used, a bridge between the earthly and the divine in one of history's most enigmatic civilizations. Rising from the sands of Egypt to the cliffs of Delphi, the Sphinx has always been more than a statue, it's a shapeshifter of meaning. The earliest versions, like the Great Sphinx of Giza, were lion-bodied sentinels with human faces, symbols of royal power staring unblinking into eternity. But as the concept traveled across the Mediterranean, something fascinating happened. The Greek Sphinx evolved, sprouting wings like an eagle and twisting into something far more enigmatic. Why blend these three creatures into one? The answer lies in the layers of symbolism each culture poured into this hybrid guardian. The lion's body anchored the Sphinx to earthly strength, a reminder of dominance over the physical realm. Those massive wings, they weren't just decorative, they lifted the creature into the domain of eagles, messengers of the gods bridging heaven and earth. And the human face, that's where things get truly interesting. In Egypt, it mirrored the pharaoh's divine authority, but the Greeks transformed it into something more unsettling, a knowing smile that hid lethal riddles. Imagine standing before the Theban Sphinx, its original colors still vibrant ochre fur, lapis-tipped wings, eyes painted with flecks of gold, as it whispered its infamous question about the creature that walks on 4 legs at dawn, 2 at noon, and 3 at dusk. Modern laser scans of statues like the Naxian Sphinx reveal traces of pigment still clinging to the marble. Originally, these weren't the austere white figures we see in museums today. They were kaleidoscopic crimson details highlighting feathers, turquoise inlays mimicking the shimmer of scales, even gilded accents catching fire in sunlight. Experimental archaeologists have recreated these polychrome masterpieces, proving how startlingly alive they would have appeared to ancient worshippers. The shift from guardian to riddler speaks volumes about cultural priorities. Egyptian sphinxes stood as silent protectors of tombs, their power in their immovability. But the Greek version thrived on interaction, testing heroes like Oedipus not with brute force but with cunning. Some scholars argue the transformation reflects a deeper philosophical transition from a society that revered answers to one that prized questions. Yet beneath the wings and riddles, the Sphinx's core remained unchanged, a fusion of the bestial, the divine, and the human. Whether carved from desert limestone or perched on a Corinthian column, it asked the same implicit question: what happens when the boundaries between animal, god, and mortal blur? The answer, it seems, is timeless fascination. When Gilgamesh embarked on his quest for immortality, traversing lands no mortal had ever seen, it wasn't monsters or demons that halted his steps, it was the scorpion people. Towering hybrids with human heads and the armored bodies of scorpions, they stood sentinel at the twin peaks of Mount Mushussu, where the sun rose and fell each day. Their very existence blurs the line between myth and memory, because these weren't just poetic inventions. Ancient cylinder seals from Mesopotamia depict them in startling detail. Curved tails poised to strike, segmented limbs carved with anatomical precision, their human faces locked in expressions of grim resolve. What's fascinating is how these creatures straddle multiple roles. In the Epic of Gilgamesh, they're neither villains nor allies. But Chinese letter, a force of nature. Their duty to guard the path of the sun god Shamash as he travels through the mountain tunnel each night. The text describes their gaze as deadly, their very presence capable of turning flesh to stone. Yet they let Gilgamesh pass, recognizing his divine heritage. This duality, protectors and potential executioners, echoes across other cultures. Hindu texts speak of the scorpion-tailed Vrishakapi, a guardian of sacred thresholds, while Zoroastrian legends mention scorpion men among the Fravashis, divine beings who watch over souls. The archaeological record adds fuel to the mystery. Impressions from cylinder seals show scorpion people flanking deities, their tails arched in identical symmetry. Some scholars argue these weren't just artistic flourishes. They might represent an ancient caste of priests who wore ceremonial scorpion garb during rituals. Chemical residue on certain seals hints at their use in stamping legal documents, suggesting these hybrids held judicial significance. Perhaps most intriguing is their anatomical accuracy. Unlike fantastical creatures with exaggerated features, the scorpion people's depictions align eerily with real arachnid biology. The positioning of their limbs, the segmentation of their exoskeletons, these details suggest the artists had intimate knowledge of actual scorpions. Yet the human elements are just as deliberate. Their faces often bear crowns or headdresses, signaling royal or divine status. So why pair scorpions with human intellect? The answer might lie in the desert itself. In Mesopotamian cosmology, scorpions were masters of survival, thriving where others perished. By merging their resilience with human wisdom, the scorpion people became the perfect guardians, beings who could endure the unimaginable, keeping watch at the edge of the known world. Their legacy endures not just in myth, but in the way they embody our oldest fears and greatest aspirations, to conquer the untamable even as we stand in awe of it. In the smoky chambers of Mayan temples, where the air hummed with the scent of burning copal and spilled blood, rulers summoned beings from beyond the veil, and none were more awe-inspiring than the vision serpent. This wasn't just a snake. Emerging from swirls of ritual smoke, its body pulsed with otherworldly energy, its jaws gaping wide to reveal ancestors and gods materializing in its maw. Unlike the naturalistic serpents carved into stelae or painted on pottery, the vision serpent defied biology, its spine a writhing ribbon of stars, its scales shimmering like molten jade. But why did the Maya shape their most sacred encounters into this particular creature? The answer lies in the intersection of agony, ecstasy, and divinity. During royal bloodletting ceremonies, nobles pierced their tongues or genitals with stingray spines, letting blood drip onto bark paper. As hallucinogens like the morning glory flower took hold, the vision serpent would coil into existence, not as a mere hallucination, but as a sanctioned conduit to the spirit world. Digital reconstructions based on temple murals show how its body twisted like smoke, vertebrae dissolving into celestial patterns. The serpent's mouth became a literal doorway. Animated projections reveal how carved ancestor faces would materialize between its fangs, speaking prophecies to the bloodied ruler below. This wasn't artistry, it was sacred technology, a blueprint for bridging dimensions. What sets the vision serpent apart from ordinary depictions? Compare it to the earthly snakes slithering through Mayan agricultural scenes. Those creatures are grounded, muscled bodies knotted around tree trunks, forked tongues tasting the air. But the vision serpent exists in perpetual motion, its form shifting depending on context. In some carvings, its body is a river of constellations. In others, it's a ladder of symbolic glyphs, each scale a syllable of divine language. Even its eyes differ. Where natural snakes have vertical pupils, the vision serpent's gaze is round and infinite, reflecting the moon's glow or the dark void of Xibalba, the Mayan underworld. Chemical analysis of ritual blades confirms traces of psychedelic compounds, suggesting priests might have rubbed these substances into open wounds to intensify visions. Imagine the scene, a ruler trembling from blood loss and toxins, watching as the serpent's form fractalized into geometric perfection, its body humming with the voices of long-dead kings. The serpent didn't just appear, it performed, unraveling into a living tapestry of myth and history. Some scholars argue its undulating form mirrored the rhythmic contractions of the uterus, tying it to creation myths. Others see it as a psychedelic map, its coils guiding the ruler's consciousness through layers of the cosmos. The most haunting evidence comes from burial sites. Noble corpses have been found with jade beads arranged in serpentine patterns over their eyes, perhaps to ensure they'd recognize the vision serpent in the afterlife. Modern animators have recreated these rituals using spectral imaging, showing how flickering torchlight would have made the carving seem to writhe on temple walls. The effect is hypnotic, proof that the Maya didn't just depict their gods, they engineered encounters with them. So was the vision serpent a hallucination, a deity, or a cosmic antenna? Perhaps all three. Its true power lay in its ambiguity, a creature that was neither alive nor dead, neither solid nor ephemeral. Every drop of royal blood summoned it anew, and every time it appeared, it whispered the same truth, that the veil between worlds was never a barrier to the Maya. It was a curtain waiting to be pulled aside by those willing to bleed for the answer. In the frozen sagas of the Vikings, where gods clashed and fate was woven like rope, one creature coiled beneath it all, Jörmungandr, the world serpent. This wasn't just a monster, it was a living boundary, its massive body encircling Midgard with its tail clamped between its teeth in an eternal Ouroboros loop. The myths describe it growing so large that it could bite its own tail, its scales pressing against the edges of the known world like a living prison wall. But Jörmungandr wasn't merely a destroyer, its very existence balanced the cosmos, a necessary counterweight to the god's order. When it finally releases its tail at Ragnarök, the universe itself will unravel. What makes this serpent distinct from other world-encircling creatures? Compare it to the Hindu Ananta Shesha, floating endlessly in the cosmic ocean, or the Chinese celestial dragons coiling through the heavens. Unlike these benevolent figures, Jörmungandr thrived on chaos. Viking Age artifacts hammer home this duality. A 10th century brooch from Denmark shows the serpent devouring its tail, its body knotted into intricate patterns mirroring the interlocking threads of fate in Norse cosmology. Another carving from Sweden depicts Thor fishing for the serpent, his face a mix of fury and dread, a moment frozen in art long before it was written in sagas. The Ouroboros symbolism runs deeper than mere poetry. Chemical analysis of these artifacts reveals traces of mercury, a metal linked to alchemy and transformation in later centuries. Did the Vikings see Jörmungandr as more than a beast, perhaps? In the prose Edda, the serpent isn't just an enemy of Thor, it's his shadow self, a force he battles but can never truly defeat. Modern reconstructions of Viking compasses or sun stones suggests some navigators might have visualized the serpent's body as a metaphor for the horizon, an endless loop separating the known from the unknown. Yet the most haunting parallel lies in shared global myths. Aztec lore speaks of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent who circled the world to hold the sky aloft. Even the Aboriginal rainbow serpent of Australia shares eerie similarities, its body shaping rivers and mountains, but Jörmungandr stands apart in its inevitability. Unlike these creator figures, the Norse serpent exists to end things. Its waking isn't just a disaster, it's a reset button for reality. So why did the Vikings carve this creature into their swords, their ships, even their jewelry? Maybe it was a reminder that order and chaos are two sides of the same coin, and that even the gods aren't immune to the bite of their own creations. The world serpent wasn't just a myth, it was a mirror reflecting the Viking understanding of a universe where even the mightiest powers are bound by the same unbreakable cycle. Carved into the sun-baked cliffs of Arizona's desert canyons, the Hopi water serpent slithers across stone, a sinuous figure with gaping jaws and curved, horn-like projections arcing from its head. This isn't just a petroglyph, it's a plea. For the Hopi people, water isn't merely a resource, it's a sacred covenant, and this serpent embodies both its life-giving power and its terrifying scarcity. What's striking is how the creature's form blurs the line between the tangible and the spiritual. Some researchers argue it depicts an actual aquatic reptile, perhaps a remnant memory of a now extinct species that once thrived in the region's ancient waterways. Others see it as purely symbolic, a manifestation of Palulukang, the celestial serpent who brings rain. The horns are the key. Unlike natural snakes, this creature's head is crowned with twisting projections, sometimes branching like antlers. In Hopi ceremonies, dancers donning serpent effigies replicate these horns with wooden appendages, their movements mimicking the serpent's undulations to summon storms. Witnessing these rituals, you'd notice how the horns aren't static, they quiver with each step, as if channeling invisible currents. Modern climate researchers have found something astonishing. The petroglyph's locations often align with underground aquifers, suggesting the carvings might mark hidden water sources. Then there's the debate over its origins. Some tribal elders speak of a time when giant serpents dwelled in springs, their presence ensuring water's flow. Could this be a distant echo of real creatures like the extinct Titanoboa woven into cultural memory? Or does the serpent's elongated, almost eel-like body point to something more mysterious, a spiritual intermediary between the physical and metaphysical worlds? The Hopi language offers a clue. The word for serpent, Palalakangwu, translates roughly to the one who moves through all worlds, hinting at its role as a bridge between realms. The most compelling evidence comes from the petroglyphs themselves. On closer inspection, many serpents are carved near spirals and concentric circles, universal symbols for water in indigenous art. Some even show the creature emerging from these spirals, as if rising from a subterranean realm. During droughts, Hopi priests would retrace these carvings with pigments made from sacred plants, a tactile invocation for the serpent to awaken and bring rain. The practice wasn't unique to the Hopi. Similar serpent motifs appear in ancestral Puebloan sites, suggesting a shared reverence across generations. What makes this symbol timeless isn't just its mystery, but its urgency. In a warming world where deserts expand and rivers vanish, the water serpent's message feels more vital than ever. It's not merely a relic of the past, it's a reminder that some bonds, like that between humans and water, are written not just in stone but in the very language of survival. Buried in the clay of an Etruscan workshop nearly 2.5 millennia ago, the chimera of Arezzo waits a snarling masterpiece of bronze, its body a tangled knot of lion, goat, and serpent. Recovered in 1553 near the Italian city of Arezzo, this fearsome hybrid isn't just a mythological beast brought to life in metal. Every detail, from the lion's bristling mane to the serpent's tail poised to strike, tells a story of ancient beliefs colliding with startlingly modern science. But what truly sets this creature apart is the gaping wound on its flank, a deliberate gash between the lion's ribs and the goat's head emerging from its back. This isn't damage, it's a clue carved by the artist's hand, pointing to something far deeper than mere legend. The wound's placement is too precise to be accidental. In Etruscan rituals, bronze offerings were often deliberately killed, ritually damaged to release their spiritual essence. A ceremonial dagger might be bent, a figurine's head removed. The chimera's wound follows this tradition, suggesting it wasn't just a decorative piece but an object of worship or sacrifice. Infrared scans of the statue reveal something fascinating. The wound's edges show tool marks consistent with intentional cutting, not accidental breakage. Even more telling, the goat's head jutting from the lion's spine bears traces of ancient repairs, as if it was broken and reforged during its ritual life. This wasn't just art, it was a participant in ceremonies, a bridge between worlds. Now, fast forward to the 21st century, where biology echoes this ancient symbolism. Genetic chimerism, a condition where one organism carries distinct sets of DNA, is no longer myth. Scientists have documented real-world cases like human chimera Lydia Fairchild, whose DNA tests initially suggested she wasn't the mother of her own children due to absorbed twin cells. Or the rare tetragametic chimeras, individuals formed from two merged embryos, their bodies patchworks of genetically distinct tissues. Even more striking are the goat-sheep hybrids known as jeeps, creatures with fleece and horns split down the middle like living versions of the Arezzo chimera. The Etruscans, of course, knew nothing of DNA, but their obsession with blended creatures speaks to an intuitive understanding of nature's fluid boundaries. Compare the chimera's design to other hybrid myths and a pattern emerges. Greek versions depict the goat's head breathing fire, the serpent's tail a separate entity. But the Etruscan artist fused them seamlessly, the goat's neck melting into the lion's back, the serpent's tail curling naturally from the haunches. This wasn't haphazard. Etruscan divination often relied on animal liver anatomy, where each lobe held cosmic significance. The chimera's tripartite body might mirror this belief, each section representing a different realm. The lion's strength for earth, the goat's vitality for sky, the serpent's venom for the underworld. Modern reconstructions reveal how the statue originally gleamed, gold leaf highlighting the lion's teeth, silver inlays for the serpent's scales. Under torchlight, it would have seemed alive, its wounds glittering like portals. Perhaps that was the point. In a world where God spoke through entrails and lightning, the chimera wasn't just a monster. It was a mirror reflecting the chaos and creativity of existence itself, where life could be as fluid as the metals they shaped, as boundless as the myths they forged. Stretching across the ochre-hued rock shelters of Arnhem Land, the rainbow serpent slithers through time, not as a single entity but as a kaleidoscope of meaning. In some paintings, its body shimmers with red and yellow cross-hatching, the same technique used in sacred bark paintings. In others, it coils in monochrome, its form outlined by the stark white of kaolin clay. This isn't just artistic variation, each color tells a story. Near the coast, where seawater mingles with freshwater springs, the serpent often appears in shades of blue and green, its scales echoing the hues of the ocean. Travel inland and the palette shifts to earthy reds and oranges, mirroring the desert sands it's said to have carved into rivers during the dream time. Modern spectrographic analysis reveals something astonishing. The pigments used in these ancient artworks aren't random. The red ochre comes from iron-rich cliffs hundreds of kilometers away, carried through trade networks. The white clay is often mixed with kangaroo fat, creating a paint that bonds chemically with the rock surface. But the most mesmerizing detail lies in how these colors interact with sunlight. At certain times of day, when the angle is just right, the serpent's body seems to ripple as if alive. Some elders speak of these moments as the serpent waking, its energy briefly tangible to those who know how to look. Now close your eyes and listen. The deep, resonant drone of a didgeridoo hums beneath the narration, its vibrations mimicking the serpent's movement through the earth. Traditionally crafted from termite-hollowed eucalyptus trunks, these instruments aren't just musical, they're sonic maps of the rainbow serpent's journey. The circular breathing technique used by players creates an unbroken sound wave, mirroring the serpent's endless cycle of creation and destruction. In ceremonies, the didgeridoo's rhythms sync with dancers' footsteps, tracing the serpent's path across the land. Audio recordings from the 1970s capture elders explaining how specific notes correspond to different parts of the serpent's body: the low growls for its coiled tail, the sharp bursts of air for its flicking tongue. What's most striking is how the serpent's symbolism shifts with geography. In the tropical north, it's primarily a life-giver, its body shaping rivers and waterholes. But in the arid central deserts, it takes on a dual role, both creator and destroyer. Rock art here shows the serpent with lightning zigzags along its spine, a warning of its power to bring floods or droughts. Some panels even depict it swallowing humans whole, a stark contrast to the benevolent coastal depictions. This duality isn't contradictory, it reflects the Aboriginal understanding of balance. The same force that carves valleys can erase them, just as the didgeridoo's continuous note contains both sound and silence. Recent collaborations between elders and geologists have uncovered something extraordinary. Many rock art sites featuring the rainbow serpent align with natural aquifers. The serpent's sinuous form often mirrors underground water channels detected by sonar mapping. In one documented case near Yuba, a serpent painting's curves precisely match a subterranean river's path, its head positioned at a sacred watering hole. This isn't coincidence, it's evidence of a sophisticated hydrological knowledge encoded in symbols. The colors, the sounds, the very placement of these artworks all weave together into a living atlas, a testament to a culture that saw no separation between land, art, and the sacred. So the next time you see a rainbow arching over the outback, remember, that's not just refracted light. To the world's oldest continuous culture, it's the rainbow serpent moving between realms, its body a bridge between the seen and unseen, its colors a language older than words. And if you listen closely through the didgeridoo's drone, through the whisper of wind over rock, you might just hear it speaking. The Aztecs didn't just worship the sun, they weaponized it, and at the heart of their celestial warfare lay Quetzalcoatl, the fire serpent. Unlike ordinary serpents slithering through Mesoamerican art, this creature blazed across codices as a living flame, its body coiled like a whip and its maw spewing solar fury. Tied intrinsically to Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and sun, Quetzalcoatl wasn't merely a sacred animal, it was a divine tool, hurled across the sky to strike down enemies and ignite the dawn. But what made this serpent so different from its earthly counterparts? The answer lies in the details. Open the Codex Borgia, and Quetzalcoatl leaps from the page in a riot of color. Its segmented body not scaled but armored in turquoise, its spine studded with razor-sharp obsidian blades. Ordinary snakes in Aztec manuscripts curl with naturalistic grace, their patterns mimicking real species like the rattlesnake or coral snake. But Quetzalcoatl fractures the rules. Its body zigzags like lightning, each segment articulated like a moving weapon. Some scholars argue its design mirrors the atlatl, the spear thrower used by Aztec warriors, transforming the serpent into a metaphysical projectile. Modern reconstructions of its mosaic appearance reveal even more brilliance. Using scans of surviving turquoise artifacts, researchers have recreated how Quetzalcoatl's body would have shimmered in temple light. The turquoise wasn't just decorative, it symbolized water and fire fused together, a paradox central to Aztec cosmology. Imagine this creature slithering down the steps of the Templo Maya, its blue-green scales refracting sunlight while torches cast flickering shadows, making it seem alive. Infrared analysis of excavated mosaics shows traces of hematite behind the turquoise, suggesting artisans layered the stones to create a pulsating, blood-like glow during rituals. The serpent's connection to Huitzilopochtli goes deeper than myth. Historical accounts describe effigies of Zucotl carried into battle, their gaping jaws mounted on standards to channel the god's wrath. During the new fire ceremony, held every 52 years to prevent the sun's extinction, priests lit a sacred flame in Zucotl's belly, symbolizing the sun's rebirth. This wasn't just pageantry, it was a calculated act of cosmic engineering, with the serpent as the engine of celestial renewal. What truly sets Zucotl apart is its duality. Unlike Quetzalcoatl's feathered serpent, which embodied wisdom and wind, this creature was pure combustion. Spanish chroniclers recorded warriors wearing Zucotl insignia into battle, believing the serpent's fire would cauterize their wounds. Even its name cracks like kindling Zia meaning turquoise or fire, and Cotl meaning serpent, a linguistic fusion of element and animal. The deeper you dig, the clearer it becomes. Zucotl wasn't just a symbol. It was a celestial scalpel wielded by gods and kings to carve order from chaos. And when you stand before the ruins of Tenochtitlan, staring at the carved stone serpent still coiled around ancient altars, you can almost feel the heat of its gaze, a reminder that some forces don't just represent the sun. They are it. Among the blood-stained murals and grim pottery of Peru's Moche civilization, one creature presides over scenes of ritual violence with unnerving stillness: the decapitator owl. This isn't the wise, wide-eyed owl of Greek myth or the harbinger of wisdom in European folklore. This bird swoops through Moche art with talons outstretched, its human-like face locked in an expression of eerie calm as it looms over bound prisoners and severed heads. The contrast couldn't be more jarring. While owls elsewhere symbolize knowledge or prophecy, here they're executioners, their feathers flecked with painted blood, their beaks curved like crescent blades. Why did the Moche twist this nocturnal hunter into a symbol of sacred slaughter? The answer lies in the desert's harshest truth: death wasn't an end but a transaction. Examine the ceramics and the details unsettle. The owl's face isn't fully avian. Its brow is heavy, almost human, with deep-set eyes that stare without blinking. Some vessels show it gripping a toomey knife in its talons, the same ceremonial blade priests used in decapitation rites. Others depict it with wings spread like a shroud over sacrificial victims, its body etched with patterns mimicking the robes of Moche elites. This wasn't random symbolism. Infrared scans of these vessels reveal hidden layers beneath the glossy finish. Some owls were originally painted with copper-based pigments that would have gleamed like moonlight, making them seem to glow in flickering torchlight during rituals. Step back and compare this to owl myths across cultures, and the divergence is stark. The Athenians revered the owl as Athena's companion, its vigilance mirroring the city's wisdom. In Hindu lore, the owl serves as Lakshmi's Vahana, a keeper of wealth and secrecy. Even the Maya linked owls to the underworld, but as psychopomps guiding souls, not harvesting them. The Moche's vision feels singular. Their owl doesn't guide or enlighten, it reaps. But here's the twist: forensic archaeology suggests these scenes weren't purely metaphorical. Excavations at sites like Huaca de la Luna uncovered rows of decapitated skeletons, their cervical vertebrae showing precise cuts matching the toomey knives in owl art. The killings weren't chaotic, they were clinical, almost ceremonial. Some researchers argue the owl's human face represents a priest channeling its spirit during sacrifices, becoming the creature in a macabre metamorphosis. Modern recreations of Moche rituals using computed tomography reveal how the acoustics of their temples amplified the sound of flapping wings when wind rushed through narrow corridors, possibly staged to simulate the owl's descent. The most chilling evidence comes from the pottery itself. On one famous stirrup spout vessel, the owl's wings aren't feathered, they're lined with skeletal hands, as if the bird is stitched together from the dead. Spectral imaging shows earlier drafts where the hands were painted with cinnabar, a mercury-based pigment that would have shimmered like fresh blood. This wasn't just art, it was a mirror held up to the Moch's worldview, where life depended on reciprocity with forces far older and hungrier than humanity. So why an owl? Perhaps because night is when the desert's true rulers emerge. The Moch didn't fear the dark, they negotiated with it. Every sacrifice, every owl-shaped vessel was a covenant written in blood and clay, a promise that as long as the blades fell and the cups filled, dawn would always return. The decapitator owl wasn't a monster, it was the middleman in the world's oldest deal, and its hollow eyes remind us that some debts can never be paid with gold. Only with flesh. Where the Ganges spills into the Bay of Bengal, stone guardians lurk at temple doorways, part crocodile, part elephant, with fins like lotus petals unfurling. This is the Makara, a creature so fluid in form that no two carvings are exactly alike. In the misty dawn light of Khajuraho's temples, its trunk curls around goddesses like a protective river current, while in Java's Borobudur, its jaws gape to swallow entire zodiac signs. Yet the Makara isn't just another mythical hybrid. It's a living paradox, both mount of the river goddess Ganga and the very embodiment of water's dual nature, life-giving and lethal. Archaeologists tracing its evolution uncover something fascinating. Early Vedic texts describe the Makara as a monstrous sea creature, but by the Gupta period, artisans were melding it with the elephant's trunk, a deliberate fusion of the river's two most potent symbols. The crocodile's armored back represents the unpredictable, destructive force of floods, while the elephant's trunk mirrors the Ganges' nurturing flow. Zoom in on a 6th century terracotta panel from Bengal, and you'll see the transition mid-mutation scales dissolving into wrinkled skin, the crocodile's snout elongating into a trunk as if the artist caught the transformation in real time. Now fast forward to modern cryptid reports from the Sundarban's mangrove forests, where fishermen whisper of massive, trunk-like appendages breaking the water's surface. Biologists dismiss these as misidentified gharials, the gangly, snouted crocodilians native to the region, but the descriptions are eerily precise. Witnesses speak of creatures with leaf-shaped tails and tusks jutting from scaled lips, details matching temple carvings down to the serrated fins. Even more compelling are 19th-century colonial records from Burma, where British officers documented native tales of elephant crocodiles guarding submerged ruins. The Makara's true power lies in its adaptability. In Thai Buddhism, it morphs into the Singha, a lion-elephant hybrid adorning palace rooftops. Cambodian legends depict it with antlers slithering through frescoes at Angkor Wat. Yet always it remains Ganga's steadfast companion, a reminder that divinity often wears many faces. Next time you see a Makara spouting water from a temple spire, look closer. That trunk isn't just pouring sacred water, it's weaving the river's story into stone, one coiled ripple at a time. Standing sentinel at the gates of ancient Assyrian palaces, the Lamashu loomed with impossible grandeur, a winged bull the height of 3 men, its bearded human face crowned by a horned headdress, watching the horizon with stone-carved omniscience. This wasn't just decoration, it was psychological warfare. Imagine approaching Nineveh or Nimrod for the first time, craning your neck to meet the gaze of a creature that seemed to stare back whether you stood to its left or right. The secret, a 5th leg, cunningly carved so the beast appeared perfectly proportioned from every angle, walking when viewed from the side, standing firm when seen head-on. The effect was deliberate, a god-king's power made tangible, bending reality itself to his will. Modern 3D scans reveal the precision behind this illusion. From the side, the Lamashu strides forward, its feathered wings folded tight against muscular flanks, but step directly in front, and the 5th leg locks into place, transforming the creature into an immovable colossus. This wasn't just artistic flair, it was a calculated display of Assyrian ingenuity. Each lamashu weighed up to 40 tons, hauled into position by armies of laborers using ramps and pulleys. The horns on its headdress, now mostly broken, were originally gilded, catching sunlight to blind visitors with divine radiance. Yet these guardians couldn't withstand the rage of modern iconoclasm. In 2015, ISIS militants targeted the lamashu at Nimrud with sledgehammers and drills, filming themselves as they reduced the 3,000-year-old sentinels to rubble. Satellite imagery later showed the palace gates reduced to gravel, the winged bull's shattered horns littering the ground like broken promises. But here's what the destroyers failed to grasp: the lamashu's true power wasn't in its stone. Before the destruction, archaeologists had laser scanned the statues, preserving every chisel mark in digital immortality. Today, replicas stand in museums worldwide, their fifth legs still performing their ancient trick, proof that some symbols refuse to die. What's haunting is how these creatures blurred boundaries even in their own time. The human head spoke of intelligence, the bull's body of brute strength, the eagle's wings of divine reach. They were hybrids in a land that worshipped purity, straddling the line between protector and intimidator. Cuneiform tablets describe them as Shedu spirits that could wield both curses and blessings. Perhaps that's why they endured, not just as art but as a warning, that true power lies in holding contradictions, in being both moving and immovable, human and beast, mortal and eternal. And though their stone forms may crumble, their lesson lingers, written not just in history, but in the very way they forced the world to see them. High on the Bandiagara escarpment in Mali, where the cliffs glow blood red at sunset, the Dogon people tell of creatures that fell from the stars, the Namo. These amphibious beings, half human and half fish, emerge from creation myths not as gods or monsters, but as teachers. According to oral traditions passed down through generations, the Namo arrived in a spinning vessel amid fire and thunder, their slick, scaled bodies glistening under the African sun. But what makes these stories truly extraordinary isn't just their vividness, it's their eerie precision about a star system invisible to the naked eye, Sirius. Deep in the caves of the Dogon homeland, ancient paintings depict the Namo with elongated limbs and tapered tails, their bodies often shown submerged in water or surrounded by celestial symbols. The figures are hauntingly consistent across centuries of art: bulbous eyes, adapted for low light, webbed fingers splayed as if mid-swim, and torsos marked with patterns resembling the rippling surface of a pond. Modern infrared scans of these caves reveal something astonishing: layers of pigment hidden beneath the visible images, suggesting the paintings were retouched over generations, as if the Dogon were preserving a memory too vital to let fade. The controversy ignites when you compare these myths to astronomical knowledge. Long before telescopes confirmed it, Dogon elders spoke of Sirius B, a dense white dwarf star orbiting Sirius A, invisible without advanced optics. They described its elliptical path and 50-year orbital period with unsettling accuracy, attributing this knowledge to the Namo. Skeptics argue this could be the result of colonial-era contact with Western astronomers, but anthropologists counter with a compelling detail. The Dogon Sirius lore is embedded in rituals dating back centuries before European contact. Their creation epic even pinpoints the Namo's origin to a third star in the system, a hypothetical Sirius C, some astronomers still search for today. What's most striking is how the Namo's imagery resonates globally. Compare the cave paintings to the Ons of Mesopotamian myth, fish-skinned sages who emerged from the Persian Gulf to teach humanity agriculture and law. Or the Japanese legend of the Ningyo, a fish-human hybrid whose flesh granted immortality. The Dogon, isolated by geography, had no known contact with these cultures. Yet their Namo share the same amphibious wisdom-bringer archetype, down to the shimmering scales and association with life-giving water. The caves themselves add another layer of mystery. Situated near natural springs, their walls often depict the Namo alongside spiraling water motifs and star clusters. During the rainy season, water seeps through the rock, making the painted figures appear to swim in the flickering torchlight. Elders still perform ceremonies here, reenacting the Namo's descent with masked dancers whose costumes mirror the cave art fibers dyed indigo to mimic scales, wooden carvings of elongated heads bobbing as they move. So were the Namo mere myth or something more? The cliffs hold their silence. But when you stand beneath those star maps painted millennia ago, feeling the cool cave air thick with the scent of wet stone, it's hard not to wonder, what if the Dogon weren't just telling stories? What if they were recording an encounter, etching their truth into rock before time could wash it away? The Namo's legacy isn't just in their stars or their scales, it's in the unbroken thread of memory, stretching from the depths of those caves to the glittering expanse of the night sky. Amid the crimson lacquer of imperial palaces and the cool jade of Shang dynasty tombs, the Feng Huang soars not as one bird, but as a living tapestry woven from the essence of many. Unlike the solitary phoenix of Western myth, this celestial creature embodies the harmony of opposites, its form a fusion of pheasant, peacock, crane, and swallow. Every detail carries meaning: the pheasant's resilience in its arched neck, the peacock's majesty in its five-tiered tail, the crane's longevity in its spindly legs. Even its colors whisper secrets: red for the sun's fire, black for the night's mystery, white for the purity of the west wind. But the true genius of this symbol lies in its partnership with the dragon, forming the ultimate yin-yang duo that shaped Chinese cosmology for millennia. Excavations of Han Dynasty burial sites reveal bronze mirrors where the Feng Huang and dragon spiral together, their bodies interlacing like cosmic threads. One particularly stunning artifact, a jade pendant from the tomb of Lady Dai, shows the pair in perfect balance. The dragon's sinuous scales coil around the edges while the Feng Huang's feathered wings fan outward, their forms carved from a single piece of nephrite so translucent it glows when held to light. Scholars now recognize these objects weren't mere decorations. They were talismans for the afterlife, ensuring the deceased would navigate the celestial currents as effortlessly as the Feng Huang rides the southern winds. Modern imaging technology has uncovered astonishing details on ritual bronzes. The bird's beak often cradles a scroll-shaped cloud, symbolizing its role as messenger between heaven and earth. Infrared scans of Zhou Dynasty wine vessels show hidden patterns, tiny feather motifs etched into the metal, visible only when the vessel was heated during ceremonies. As the liquid inside warmed, the Feng Huang's plumage would appear to ripple, as if coming alive with the rising steam. The dance between these two creatures transcends art. In imperial architecture, the Feng Huang always faces south, the direction of summer and fire, while the dragon guards the east, realm of spring and rebirth. Together, they govern the seasonal cycle, their eternal partnership etched into everything from temple rooftops to the folds of a bride's embroidered gown. Even today, when you see their silhouettes twisting across a vase or painted on a screen, you're witnessing not just beauty, but the ancient pulse of the universe itself, forever balanced, forever intertwined. Carved into the sandstone cliffs of the American Southwest, the horned serpent slithers through Pueblo cosmology, not as a mere myth, but as a living force shaping the land itself. From the Hopi mesas to Zuni Pueblo, petroglyphs depict this powerful being with a sinuous, scaled body and dramatic, curled horns arching like crescent moons above its piercing eyes. What makes these carvings so striking isn't just their artistry, but their eerie consistency across tribes separated by vast distances. A horned serpent pecked into the rocks of Choco Canyon mirrors those painted on Kiva walls at Hopi villages, suggesting a shared reverence that predates written history. The horns are the first clue to its significance. Unlike natural snakes, this creature's crown isn't just decorative, it's symbolic, echoing the shape of lightning bolts splitting the desert sky. Pueblo oral traditions describe storms as the serpent's manifestation, its electrified horns striking the earth to channel life-giving rains. Some petroglyphs even show zigzag lines connecting the horns to spirals or concentric circles, universal symbols for springs in indigenous art. Modern geologists have noted something remarkable. Many of these serpent carvings cluster near fault lines or subterranean aquifers, as if marking portals where the serpent's power surges closest to the surface. Water is the serpent's other domain. Tua elders speak of it dwelling in the darkest depths of sacred springs, its coiled body regulating the flow of underground rivers. During droughts, priests would etch fresh lines into older carvings, retracing the serpent's form as a plea for replenishment. The contrast with desert-dwelling reptiles is deliberate. While rattlesnakes embody the harshness of the arid landscape, the horned serpent represents the hidden abundance beneath it. Some petroglyphs depict the creature with fish or tadpoles swirling along its belly, reinforcing its role as a life-bringer, yet this being isn't purely benevolent. Navajo traditions warn of the T-L-stroke ejective IISHN, a horned serpent that drowns the unwary who trespass near its watery lair. Pueblo accounts similarly describe it as a guardian of thresholds, punishing those who disrespect sacred sites with floods or landslides. The horns then serve a dual purpose: they're conduits for rain but also weapons. Examine petroglyphs closely, and you'll notice some horns are segmented like cactus spines, while others bristle with barbs as if the serpent can launch them like arrows. The most enigmatic carvings come from the ancestral pueblones of Mesa Verde, where the serpent's body often dissolves into geometric patterns resembling maize symbols. Archaeologists speculate these might represent the serpent's ability to traverse worlds, its form fragmenting as it moves between the physical and spiritual realms. At sunrise on the summer solstice, light slants through cracks in certain canyon walls, illuminating these carvings in a way that makes the horns appear to glow, a phenomenon still honored in modern Pueblo ceremonies. What emerges is a creature far more complex than a simple water spirit. The horned serpent is desert and deluge protector and judge. Its curled horns a reminder that the same force that nurtures can also destroy. Its image endures not just in stone, but in the way Pueblo artists weave its likeness into baskets and pottery today, a proof that some symbols never lose their power to command respect for the delicate balance between humanity and the unseen forces that sustain us. In the 1,000-year-old verses of the Shahnameh, Persia's epic Book of Kings, a creature soars above mortal strife, its wings spanning the width of entire battlefields, its feathers shimmering with the iridescence of 30 different birds. This is the Simurgh, a being whose very name means 30 birds in Persian, yet its true nature defies simple classification. Early depictions in Zoroastrian texts paint it as a stormbringer, tearing through villages with hurricane-force wings, its talons dripping with the blood of the unprepared. But by the time Ferdowsi penned his immortal verses in the 10th century, the Simurgh had transformed into something far more complex: a guardian, a healer, a keeper of cosmic secrets. What force could soften the heart of such a primordial terror? The answer lies in a single, unexpected bond between the monstrous and the mortal. Turn the vellum pages of a 14th century Shahnameh manuscript and the transformation becomes vividly clear. In one miniature, the Simurgh looms over the infant Zal, its feathers dark as thunderheads, its beak poised to snatch the albino child abandoned by his horrified father. Yet instead of devouring him, the creature wraps Zal in its wings, carrying him to its mountain nest to raise as its own. This moment marks the turning point, the Simurgh's destructive fury channeled into fierce, almost maternal protection. The illustrations grow warmer as the epic progresses. Later paintings show the Simurgh's plumage lightening to gold and azure, its eyes losing their predatory glare as it teaches Zal the language of plants and the healing properties of mountain herbs. The artistry in these manuscripts holds hidden clues, Under ultraviolet light, restorers have detected layers of lapis lazuli pigment beneath the Simurgh's wings, a luxury imported from Afghanistan, reserved for depicting only the most sacred beings. Even more telling are the subtle changes in composition. Early images position the creature looming above human figures, emphasizing its dominance. But in scenes where the adult Zal reunites with his foster parent, the Simurgh is shown at eye level, its wings now sheltering rather than smothering. The most poignant detail, a 15th century illustration from Herat, shows the Simurgh plucking a feather and placing it in Zal's hand not as a trophy but as a talisman. The accompanying text reveals this single feather could summon the creature's aid when burned, transforming its essence into smoke and salvation. Modern scholars debate whether this evolution reflects changing religious attitudes. The Simurgh's earlier destructive phase aligns with pre-Zoroastrian storm deities, while its later benevolence mirrors the Ahura Mazda's wisdom. Yet the creature defies easy categorization. It appears in Sufi poetry as a metaphor for divine unity, in Mongol-era medical texts as a source of miraculous cures, and even on Sasanian silver plates as a hybrid phoenix griffin guarding the tree of life. Perhaps the truest measure of its significance lies in its endurance. Long after the Shahname's completion, the Simurgh kept evolving, appearing on Ottoman tiles with peacock-like trains, in Mughal miniatures crowned like emperors, and in modern Iranian art as a symbol of resilience. It's as if the creature itself refuses to be pinned down, forever beating its vast wings between legend and history, destruction and grace. The Simurgh's greatest lesson might be this: even the most fearsome forces can nurture if given the chance to love. In the shadowed corridors of Japan's Heian period, where court nobles whispered of spirits lurking beyond the palace blinds, one creature stalked the nightmares of emperors, the Nu. This wasn't just another ghost story. With the face of a snarling monkey, the body of a tiger bristling with hackles, and a serpent coiled where its tail should be, the Nu was a living paradox, a chimera stitched together from the animal kingdom's most unnerving traits. Ancient scrolls describe its arrival as an omen of catastrophe, its eerie cries like the screech of a monstrous bird echoing over Kyoto before disaster struck. But why blend these three creatures into one abomination? The answer lies in the darkest corners of Japanese folklore, where animals weren't just symbols, they were vessels for the unseen world's fury. Examine a 14th century no-theater mask carved for plays about the Nu, and the horror becomes tactile. The monkey's exaggerated features, protruding brow, bared teeth twist into something far from natural, its expression frozen between mockery and menace. Tiger stripes ripple across the mask's wooden surface, painted with pulverized minerals that still gleam faintly under gallery lights, but it's the serpent that chills the blood. Instead of a proper tail, a viper's body curls around the mask's edge, its carved scales catching the light differently depending on the actor's angle, creating the illusion of movement mid-performance. Modern restorers using multispectral imaging have found traces of mercury-based pigment in the serpent's eyes, suggesting they once glittered like actual venom under torchlight. The creature's origins are as tangled as its anatomy. Some scholars argue the Nu embodies the Buddhist concept of Sanmai, threefold suffering, with each animal representing a different torment: the monkey's deceit, the tiger's violence, the serpent's poison. Others point to older Shinto beliefs where hybrids guarded sacred boundaries. The tale of the Hike, Japan's epic war chronicle, immortalized the Nu's most infamous attack. In 1153, Emperor Kono fell gravely ill after nights of hearing unearthly shrieks above his chambers. Warriors eventually ambushed the creature as it perched on the palace roof, though accounts differ on whether it was slain or vanished into smoke. What makes the Nu uniquely terrifying is its refusal to fit neatly into myth or zoology. Unlike Western chimeras, which often follow predictable hybrids like griffins or centaurs, this monster's components feel deliberately mismatched. A monkey's face suggests intelligence turned cruel, the tiger's body raw predation, the serpent's tail an unnatural graft. In no performances, actors wearing new masks move with jerking, almost puppet-like motions, unlike the fluid grace of other supernatural roles, as if the creature itself resists being fully controlled. Perhaps the most haunting evidence lies in the ruins of Kyoto's Rashomon Gate, where legend claims the News Corps was displayed. Excavations in the 1990s unearthed animal bones, monkey, tiger, and snake intertwined in a way that defied natural decomposition. Whether planted as theater props or something far stranger, they whisper the same unsettling truth. Some myths refuse to stay buried. And when the wind howls through old temple eaves, it's easy to imagine the new still watching, its triple gaze piercing the veil between nightmare and history. Where Western dragons breathe fire and hoard gold, the Slavic Zime coils through folklore with a different kind of menace. A three-headed beast that isn't just a monster, but a shape-shifting trickster, a tempest made flesh. Picture this: embroidered ritual cloths from 19th century Ukraine show the Zime not as a solitary terror, but as a recurring motif, its heads writhing like storm clouds over villages stitched in crimson thread. Each head represents a different force. One spews disease, another controls the winds, the third whispers curses, making it less a creature to slay than a force to negotiate with. The most striking detail: on some cloths, the dragon's body dissolves into geometric patterns, as if the artisans were encoding its power into the very fabric of daily life. This isn't the dragon of Beowulf or St. George. While Western myths often frame dragons as adversaries to be conquered, Slavic tales blur the lines between foe and ally. In Bulgarian folklore, the Zime kidnaps maidens not to devour them, but to marry them, gifting their human families with rain and fertile crops. A Serbian epic describes a Zime transforming into a handsome warrior by day, only to resume its draconic form under the moon. These stories hint at something profound. The dragon isn't merely chaos to be tamed, but a keeper of natural balance, its three heads mirroring the Slavic trinity of earth, sky, and underworld. The ritual cloths, called rushniki, reveal even deeper layers. Used in weddings and funerals alike, they often depict the Zime encircling a sacred tree, its heads tilted at precise angles. Ethnographers note that the embroidery's color palette holds meaning. Black threads symbolize the dragon's connection to ancestral spirits, red threads invoke protection, and white threads trace its ability to cross between worlds. In some villages, these cloths were hung over doorways during storms, not to repel the Zime but to appease it, a stark contrast to the ironclad dragon slayers of Western lore. Modern reconstructions of these textiles uncover astonishing precision. Under ultraviolet light, hidden stitches emerge, tiny silver threads woven into the dragon's scales, visible only when illuminated by lightning flashes during rituals. The effect would have been deliberate, a momentary glimpse of the Zime's true form, flickering into existence just long enough to remind viewers of its lurking presence. Even the number of knots per inch carries significance. Certain patterns repeat in intervals of 3, reinforcing the creature's triune nature. The most haunting adaptation appears in Rusalka rituals, where the Zime becomes entangled with water spirits. On cloths used in midsummer festivals, the dragon's serpentine tail twists into river currents, its heads morphing into the faces of drowned maidens. This fusion underscores the Zime's role as a liminal being, neither fully benevolent nor malevolent, but eternally suspended between. Western dragons may fall to swords, but the Slavic Zime endures, woven into the fabric of culture itself, whispering that some forces aren't meant to be defeated, only understood. High in the thin air of the Andes, where the Milky Way stretches like a shimmering river across the night sky, the Inca whispered of a celestial guardian watching over their herd's Ercachile, the star llama. This wasn't just any constellation. Its brilliant patches of color mapped onto the cosmos in the shape of a prized llama. its fleece woven from starlight and its eyes glowing with the intensity of Venus. Unlike Western constellations that connect stars into abstract shapes, Urkachile was a living, breathing entity to the Inca, a divine protector of their most vital resource. But here's what's truly astonishing. Modern astronomers have discovered that the llama's body aligns with a dense cluster of stars in the constellation Lyra, while its multicolored fleece corresponds to nebulae whose vibrant hues are visible even to the naked eye under pristine Andean skies. Colonial-era manuscripts like Felipe Guaman Poma de Ayala's Nueva Coronica y Buen Gobierno offer rare glimpses into how Urkachile was revered. One striking illustration shows a llama draped in a star-patterned blanket, standing atop a mountain as celestial beams rain down upon a shepherd below. The details are meticulous, the llama's ears pricked toward the Pleiades, its hooves resting on a zigzagging path symbolizing the Inca's sacred sect lines. These weren't just artistic choices. The Inca believed Urkachile influenced the fertility of their herds, its celestial movements dictating breeding cycles and marking the arrival of seasonal rains. During the Q-Hapak Remi festival, priests would scatter coca leaves and chant to the constellation, their voices rising to mimic the llama's humming call, a sound still echoed by modern Quechua herders when soothing their flocks. The connection between Urkachile and animal husbandry runs deeper than ritual. Inca herders developed an intricate system of llama husbandry tied to the stars, selectively breeding animals whose coat colors mirrored the constellation's hues, a pure white for sacrifice, speckled brown for cargo, jet black for royal herds. Spanish chroniclers recorded how these color-coded flocks were paraded during ceremonies, their wool dyed with natural pigments to heighten the celestial resemblance. Today, researchers using spectral analysis on surviving textiles have identified mineral traces matching the exact shades described in star myths. Lapis lazuli blues for the night sky, iron-rich reds for the llama's symbolic blood ties to the earth. What makes Urkachile unique among animal symbols is its enduring practicality. Unlike mythical hybrids or apocalyptic serpents, this celestial llama served as both deity and almanac. The star cluster forming its heart, modern-day Vega, signaled the optimal time for shearing, while the dark dust clouds near its feet warned of impending droughts. Some scholars argue the constellation's irregular shape, noticeably bulkier than real llamas, might encode ancestral knowledge of genetic traits, a stellar guide to breeding robust stock. The ultimate testament to Urkachile's power. Even after centuries of forced conversion, Andean herders still glance skyward when tending their flocks, muttering prayers to the starry llama. Its light, after all, has outlasted empires, a silent shepherd guiding its earthly kin across the mountains, just as it has for 1,000 generations. Etched onto crumbling clay tablets and carved into ancient cylinder seals, the Anzu bird swoops down from Sumerian myth with talons outstretched, a creature so audacious it dared to steal the very laws of the universe. Part lion, part eagle, this hybrid beast wasn't content with mere dominion over land and sky. Its most infamous act, snatching the tablet of destiny from the god Enlil, an object that held the power to shape reality itself. Imagine the scene, wings blotting out the sun, a lion's roar echoing through temple courtyards as the Anzu seized the sacred tablet and fled to its mountain lair, leaving gods and mortals alike scrambling in its wake. The surviving artwork tells a vivid story. On a 4,000-year-old cylinder seal from Nippur, the Anzu spreads its massive wings, its eagle's body taut with muscle and its lion's muzzle frozen mid-snarl. Its talons clutch the tablet, a rectangular object marked with cuneiform wedges, while lesser gods cower beneath its shadow. What's striking is how the creature's form merges two apex predators, the lion's terrestrial might and the eagle's mastery of the heavens. This wasn't just artistic flair. The Sumerians saw the Anzu as a physical manifestation of unchecked ambition, a being that bridged realms and defied boundaries. Comparisons to later legends like the rock are inevitable, but the differences are telling. Arabic tales describe the rock as a gargantuan bird capable of carrying off elephants, a force of nature, yes, but not a thief of cosmic order. The Anzu, by contrast, was a disruptor of divine law. Its theft of the tablet wasn't just an act of rebellion. It threw creation into chaos, forcing the gods to send the warrior god Ninurta to hunt it down. A broken hymn from the old Babylonian period describes the battle in visceral detail. The Anzu shrieking as Ninurta's arrows found their mark, the tablet slipping from its grasp as it plummeted to earth. Modern imaging technology reveals hidden nuances in these ancient depictions. On a recently scanned seal from the Louvre, the Anzu's wings bear faint, deliberate scratches mimicking feather patterns, details invisible to the naked eye. Even more intriguing are the remnants of pigment trapped in the grooves, suggesting the creature was originally painted in lapis lazuli blue and gold, colors reserved for deities. This wasn't just a monster, it was a near-divine adversary, its very appearance designed to unsettle. The Anzu's legacy slithers through time. Some scholars argue its likeness inspired the cherubim of Hebrew tradition, winged guardians wielding flaming swords. Others see its echo in the Lamashu of Assyria, though the latter lacks the Anzu's destructive arrogance. What's undeniable is how this creature embodies humanity's oldest fear, that the forces controlling our fate might one day slip from the gods' hands, or worse, fall into the wrong claws. The next time you see a bird of prey circling high above, remember, 4 millennia ago, an entire civilization stared at the sky and wondered if the rules of existence themselves were dangling in its grip. Among the twisted roots of ancient oak trees and the whispering leaves of sacred groves, the Celts envisioned a figure unlike any other Cernunnos, the antlered god, seated in perpetual meditation with animals spilling from his outstretched hands. His most famous depiction flickers to life on the Gundestrup cauldron, a massive silver vessel pulled from a Danish bog, its panels alive with gods, warriors, and beasts. Here, Cernunnos sits cross-legged, his antlers branching like a living crown, a torque dangling from one hand and a serpent coiling around the other. A stag grazes at his shoulder, while wolves, bulls, and even mythical creatures crowd the scene, as if the forest itself has gathered at his feet. But is this a portrait of a deity, a shaman mid-ritual, or something stranger still? The Gundestrup cauldron's craftsmanship deepens the mystery. Under microscopic analysis, the antlers reveal minuscule notches, possibly tally marks symbolizing lunar cycles or harvest. His torque isn't merely jewelry. Its twisted design mirrors the knots found in Celtic metalwork, representing eternity or binding vows. Then there's the serpent, its body arched as if whispering into Cernunnos' ear. Unlike the threatening serpents of Mediterranean myths, this one seems almost conversational, a companion rather than a foe. Some scholars argue the entire scene mirrors shamanic visions, where the antlers signify a spiritual conduit to the animal world. Indigenous Siberian shamans, after all, wore antlered headdresses to channel stag spirits during rituals. Could Cernunnos be a frozen moment of such a trance immortalized in silver? Yet the deity interpretation holds weight. Inscriptions bearing his name appear across Gaul, often near healing springs or hunting grounds. A 1st century BC carving from Rhymes shows him surrounded by coin bags, hinting at a role as a god of abundance. The animals flanking him aren't random, each carries symbolic weight. The stag embodies virility and the forest soul, the wolf represents untamed wilderness, and the bull signifies raw strength. Together, they paint Cernunnos as a lord of opposites, bridging the civilized and the wild. Modern reconstructions of lost wooden carvings suggest some statues might have had detachable antlers, swapped seasonally to reflect the stag's life cycle, shedding in winter, regrowing in spring. The most compelling debate centers on his posture. Seated in what yogis would call the lotus position, his spine straight and palms open, Cernunnos mirrors meditation poses found in Eastern traditions. X-rays of the cauldron show the artist hammered this figure with deeper relief than others, as if highlighting his importance. Some researchers propose this posture signals a god of boundaries between life and death, human and animal, even the physical and spiritual worlds. Others see a more practical role, a protector of hunters, his antlers serving as both camouflage and crown. Then there's the cauldron itself, buried deliberately in a peat bog, a place the Celts saw as a threshold to the other world. Its silver panels might have been a sacrificial offering. Sir Nonno's presence here, amid scenes of rebirth and warfare, suggests he wasn't just a passive observer but a gatekeeper of cycles. When you stare at his image long enough, the animals seem to move, the serpent's tongue flickering, the stag's breath fogging the silver. It's a reminder that some symbols refuse to be pinned down. Sir Nonno's wasn't just worshipped, he was experienced a whisper in the rustling leaves, a shadow in the forest, and above all, a question carved in metal. What happens when man and nature aren't just connected but inseparable? Beneath the cascading waterfalls and emerald valleys of Hawaii, the ancient Mau slither through legend shape-shifting dragons not of fire but of life-giving water. These aren't the winged beasts of European tales. These are serpentine beings with glistening scales, capable of transforming from massive lizards into beautiful women or even mist curling over sacred ponds. Petroglyphs carved into lava rocks near Kauai's riverbanks depict their sinuous forms, some with jaws gaping wide as if swallowing streams whole, others coiled protectively around spiral symbols representing freshwater springs. What makes these creatures uniquely Hawaiian is their intimate bond with the sacred water that sustains life. Oral histories passed down through generations describe Mau as both guardians and tricksters. A chant from Molokai tells of a Mau who disguised herself as a maiden to test a chief's generosity, rewarding him with a hidden spring when he shared his last sip of water. Another account from the Big Island warns of a Mau who drowned fishermen who disrespected her pond, her scales darkening like storm clouds. The duality is striking. Mau could bless a family with abundant taro fields or curse them with drought depending on how they were treated. Modern hydrogeologists have noted something uncanny. Many historically documented Mau habitats align with subterranean aquifers, suggesting these stories may encode ancestral knowledge of water sources. The petroglyphs offer another layer of insight. At the Po-Loa fields on Hawaii Island, hundreds of Mau carvings cluster near natural cisterns that collect rainwater. Some show the creatures with zigzagging tails, a possible symbol for lightning or the flash of fish in sunlight. Others depict them with pico-umbilical markings, linking them to creation myths where the first Mau emerged from the tears of the earth goddess Papahanaumoku. When researchers used 3D scanning to analyze the carving's depth, they discovered the Mau images were often regrooved over centuries, as if each generation renewed a silent pact with these watery spirits. What's most fascinating is how the Mau's physical form reflects Hawaii's ecology. The sleek, elongated bodies mirror endemic Oahu fish that climb waterfalls, while their ability to shift forms echoes the way water itself transforms from liquid to vapor. Even today, locals speak of seeing shadows dart through moonlit streams or feeling an inexplicable presence near certain pools, always preceded by the scent of pickake flowers or the sound of pebbles shifting underwater. The Mau remind us that in Hawaii, water isn't just a resource. It's a living force threaded through land, legend, and the quiet hum of ancestral memory. From the towering Lamashu of Assyria to the shape-shifting Mau of Hawaiian lore, these 30 animal symbols share a profound truth across continents and millennia. Humanity has been weaving creatures into the very fabric of meaning. Whether carved into temple walls or whispered in creation myths, these hybrids weren't just art. They were attempts to grasp forces too vast, too mysterious to describe in human terms. The serpent that circles the world, the bird that steals destinies, the antlered god who whispers to beasts, each one reflects an impulse as old as consciousness itself. to make sense of our place in a world teeming with life we could never fully understand. But here's what lingers long after the stories fade. What if these weren't purely inventions? Could the set animal's uncanny anatomy hint at a real species lost to time? Might the Dogon's descriptions of the Nomo's fish-like skin trace back to an encounter with something beyond our modern taxonomy? Even the most seemingly fantastical creatures, like the chimera of Arezzo with its stitched-together body, find eerie echoes in genetic chimerism where real organisms carry multiple sets of DNA. The line between myth and memory is thinner than we think. Now it's your turn. Which of these symbols left you questioning reality? Was it the Harappan unicorn stamped onto seals like an ancient corporate logo, or the vision serpent, its body dissolving into stars as it spoke prophecies to bloodletting kings? Vote in the poll below. We've listed the most enigmatic contenders, and let's see which creature captivates this generation the way it haunted our ancestors. Better yet, shout out your own candidates in the comments. Have you seen an unexplained animal carving in a local ruin? Heard a folktale about a beast that defies biology? Share it. The past is full of creatures waiting to be rediscovered, and who knows, your observation might just unravel the next piece of the puzzle, because in the end, these symbols aren't relics. They're invitations. Every time we stare into the horned serpent's spiraled eyes or trace the decapitator owl's blood-stained wings, we're not just looking at history. We're peering into the depths of what it means to be human, to stand at the edge of the unknown and dare to imagine what lies beyond. The animals remain. The mystery endures, and the conversation, that's just beginning.